are the 5 precepts, which is abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and all intoxicants. And then there are the specific rules about the schedule for the day. Just to summarize, your primary job during the 10 days is going to be to follow the schedule of meditation, the rest periods, the meal times, and the breaks. It's a very regimented day. It's in many ways stricter than your normal prison daily schedule.
To be honest with you, when I first heard of the program, I was skeptical of it myself. I thought, well, we're, going to waste some time here. Some of the inmates are going to use this program as a way to get away from the block and to do their own thing.
What is that? I don't want to go through that. I was scared. I was real scared.
And so I started smiling. I said, it's good to meditate. And I say, meditation, sometimes it pays to shut everything down so you can just sit quiet and hear.
I've been through every course imaginable. I know it all. A meditation course? Come on.
I have a question. I'm a firm believer that the only protection I have for myself spiritually is prayer. But I understand through the program that we can't indulge in prayer. I was just wondering, why is that?
The reason we ask you to do that is because when we work at the deep level of the mind, we want to have no other practices that involve exercising the mind in this way.
Right from the very start, I was always concerned from the religious point of view that they would see this program as something foreign or alien, unusual, different, that would take away from their programs.
How many of you consider yourselves to be religious? Quite a few of you. Or spiritual, religious, however you want to say it.
It's not that it's teaching the religion, it's teaching a meditation practice that was born there. I don't think that will be a problem once that's understood. Now, if you came in and tried to teach against Christianity and to teach Buddhism, it would become a real problem here. As a matter of fact, I would have some difficulty with that.
I had a guy come to me this morning and tell me, said, I'm concerned because the guys that aren't really grounded real well in Christianity go down there and they're going to become Buddhist. They won't understand. And I said, well, what's not to understand about compassion, love, and caring? And that was the big turnaround for me, realizing that. That was the turnaround.
This west gym will be locked down. The inmates will not be able to go out, and inmates from the outside will not be able to come in. This is very much a monastic setting, in a sense, or a prison within a prison.
Obi was very instrumental in setting up the courses.
Anyway, that'll do. We put the duct tape, if we duct tape it all up, it should be fine.
We got matching tape now.
Wow.
That's great.
We've got some gray one too, which we could use for the edge of the white.
He told me that he had started meditating, and so I asked him, "You've started meditating? What's going on?" And I've always been apprehensive about these things. He explained to me that it is to relax you and enable you to focus on controlling your emotions. He went through a whole length of things, but I was just concerned about his well-being.
What I noticed about OB is that he seemed to be more calm, more at peace with himself. He seemed to have that sense of purpose. It's like stepping into the abyss, you know, to go to Vipassana. Because when you're in here, you're not just anybody, you're already someone that's harmed humanity. You've already done something, so you wonder, what is it I haven't dealt with? There may be things back there that I may uncover that I've never even glimpsed at. This woman came out from the back. I asked for her money. I told her to lay down on the floor, and that didn't seem to satisfy me. So I told her to get up. When she walked by me, I stabbed her to death many, many times. You really don't feel. You've got this place where it's like things are not real. And until you get stopped by life itself, where you have to stop and take note of what you've done, what's going on with you, then you just continue.
The reason I feel that Vipassana has the opportunity, one of the things its main principles is to make an individual look at themselves. When you get on the cushion and you're having to deal with yourself under strict rules and strict environment, it really kind of changes everything. You can't fake yourself.
And this is actually the last orientation that we'll have. And the idea is for you to come in here, get used to the environment that you're going to be in, have you sit on the cushions, get a sense of what that's going to feel like. Each time we start a group sitting, we'll start off with chanting. And the chanting is to help create and to preserve a good environment for you to work in. So I'm going to play you the beginning of the chanting, and then I'll play the end of it.
Being someone as talkative as much as I am, shutting up for 10 days is just critical mass. You know, that's serious. That's almost to drive you into hysteria by itself. What's 10 hours gonna look like? You know, what's it gonna do to your back? It don't matter how much yoga I've done or other things, I still know that my legs, the circulation cuts off. I imagine it's kind of like going in the Army. You know, when you get through a boot camp, one way or the other that you feel about it. Either it was okay and you realized what the purpose is for, or you didn't, and you had the extreme other.
Come, O people of the world. Let us walk the path of truth. The path of truth is the path of peace. The path of truth is the path of happiness. So you get a sense of what he's chanting. It's just good wishes. So I wish you all the success these 10 days. It won't always be easy, but remember, if you keep persisting, keep trying, you will be successful. So
I wrestled with myself for a long time. So I said, I'm decided to take this. I'm gonna see what's going on. That's part of me. Let me know, Ed, you ready, man. You ready. You know, you ready to go and deal with life. Some people scared to deal with life, and I was one of those persons scared to deal with life.
I gotta get it going on myself.
All Vipassana inmates, you need to get your stuff, gentlemen. Get your stuff. All of them coming? All this stuff on there? All right.
I hear this sound I'm not used to, and it means it's time to get up. I would come to hate that sound.
Probably the most challenging discipline that we have is one of noble silence. So for 9 days, the students cannot actually talk with each other.
It was so quiet, you know. I hadn't been in anything that quiet since kindergarten. But it was okay. It's like they're used to action. They're used to action at all times. They're not used to clearing their minds and, you know, meditating and listening to other people, you know, tell them how to meditate, how to express themselves. They're not used to that.
First 3 days was the rough part. At this point in time, you don't have to sit hours and hours for the first day. I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And I'm telling myself I can do this. They're teaching us about Anapana, about the breathing process. But at this time, I don't know nothing about no Anapana, about no breathing process. So.
Anapana is strictly a concentration technique, so that when you get to Vipassana, you can work very deeply or you can observe the sensations in the body.
Anapana is just breathing through your nostrils. When you Anapana, it opens up this part. It helps you think. It helps you think about you.
This technique really is scientific. It's very pragmatic. And I think that they sense that at a very early stage. Vipassana means literally to see things as they are, to see the reality deep inside of yourself as it really is. And that oftentimes is not a very pleasant experience initially.
I wake up exhausted. I am concerned about making this day. The very hour that we are to ask the teacher to teach us Vipassana, a thunderstorm hits for the whole duration of the session.
I think I was going around too serious. I went in there, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do it. Nothing's gonna get in the way, and then as it turns out, so many things got in the way, and then I found myself getting angry at the things which were getting in the way, and that was a big storm there.
Every student will face what we call a storm, where they will have a deep sense of fear, anger, depression, begin to come to the surface level of the mind, and they have to face that. That is the technique of Vipassana, is to work at that depth where all that stuff comes up.
I knew that I had to kind of let things go. And I realized that I'd be holding on to things too strongly. And that became very funny. I started laughing about the way I was reacting to everything. I started laughing because I was angry. And in the midst of the laughter, it changed to tears. I was like, whoa, man, the big image, you're not supposed to cry. What if somebody sees you crying? It turned out that it was okay, actually. In the end, everything seemed okay. It was okay to cry. And I just didn't care anymore. And I just let the tears roll, and I cried. I don't know what I was crying about, but it felt good to cry. It had been quite some time.
I had a friend, his mother had a lot of land out in the countryside and the outskirts of Montgomery. We used to go out there and target practice and stuff like that. Then I used to ride around with the gun all the time, in the car with me. I remember when it first happened, I wept over it. It's very difficult to conceive of sitting in a car and driving down a highway and just suddenly being shot randomly.
One person got killed, one person got seriously injured, and, they were the subject of a lot of publicity and whatnot around here in the state of Alabama.
To this day, Ben says that he wasn't the person who pulled the trigger. But I know that these were his friends, and if you're in company that does things like that, all of you are responsible for it.
I was a stupid kid. 20 might not seem like a kid to many people, but that's 10 years ago for me. And when I look back, I see that I was a kid. I wanted to fit in, I wanted to fit in I wanted to be looked up to by people, and, I wanted to be accepted in this society here. And, many times that led me into a lot of trouble. I have changed drastically. I think without that personal work, I might have been somebody crazy like the person who was described in the newspapers and whatnot when I got arrested. A ruthless, mindless animal from Africa. Yeah.
We can't really expect the men to do anything. Our job is, just to give. The results really are up to the men.
It was horrible. It was probably the worst experience I've ever been through. I spent 8.5 years on death row, and this was harder. All the stuff that's buried down deep, they come up gradually. And most of them are small things, and you can deal with them, you recognize them, you look at it, and you move on. But I never felt any like that 5th day. It was hard to keep composure, stay on the mat. I wanted to jump and run bad. I've always justified some of my behavior during that crime, and on day 5, I just couldn't get away from myself. I had to actually see it. Things don't just happen, and your behavior causes the actions that you get into. So I am guilty. I'm guilty of the crime, whether I hit the man, whether I stabbed the man, whether I cut the man, which I didn't do any of those, but I'm just as guilty as the ones that did. It hit places in me that I didn't even know was there anymore. Places like your first child, when he gets old enough to talk and he looks you straight in the eye and he tells you, "I love you, Daddy." And you know for the first time he understands what he's saying and he means it. Those kind of places in you. And after 16 years of being locked up in here, I wasn't sure there were any places like that in me anymore.
The in-breath and the out-breath.
That's why they give a 10-day course instead of you come in and sit for 4 to 6 hours a day and go home. Because no, they want you there long enough that you actually deal with your stuff.
Letting the thoughts go on the awareness of the breath.
I believe that Grady Bankett is someone who is not going to be a threat to society his entire life, who doesn't have to be incarcerated or imprisoned his entire life to be appropriately punished for the crime he committed. I tend to disfavor these sentences that have hopelessness as a framework. But I guess we start with the premise that where there's life, there is hope. And if we can get to that point, there'll be something